Hi everybody, it's time to put grout in between our tiles to make it look like a true mosaic. You're gonna need one rubber glove for just one of your hands. The other hand, we're not gonna get dirty. You're gonna need your mosaic, and then you're gonna need some grout. This grout is basically cement. It'll go on wet and it'll dry rock hard. The color of this grout is bright white. This grout is safe, but if you use it a lot on your hands, there are some chemicals in it that'll start to kind of bother your skin. So that's why we're going to use gloves. Sometimes also the tiles can be a little bit sharp. So maybe if we have a glove on, it'll help us from maybe cutting ourselves on this tile. Your tile should be not very sharp because you made it with the clay by hand, but sometimes tiles can be sharp. Here's how we do it. This is what the grout looks like in the bucket. And you can see that it has some liquid to it, and then it also has some sand in there. It'll dry hard. It kind of has a consistency right now of peanut butter. So you're gonna have a smaller container of this, and your job is gonna be to put the grout in between the tiles in these areas. Now you can scoop it out of the container with the spoon, and you can load it in these areas, smoothing it around and getting it in between the tiles. You don't want the grout on top of the tiles. The more you work it, it'll start to dry and it'll stick better to the wood than it does to the tile. So basically what I'm doing is I'm spreading out the grout and I'm trying to tuck it underneath the tiles, in between the tiles, and then I'm taking my finger and I'm wiping along the tiles to get extra grout and then smoothing it into the spaces in between. Okay. You can see that I don't have much grout on top of this tile. It's in between. Once it starts to dry, we're going to take a sponge and we'll clean off the surface of the tiles so that this cloudy stuff goes away. I'm not going to do this whole mosaic for these guys. I just want to show you how you get things started. So now it's going to dry for a little bit before I can wipe it off. If I have some extra grout on my fingers, I'm going to kind of try to jam it into the edge on the outside of my tiles, just like it looks right here. It's going to be kind of like a slide down to the wood so that you don't see the side of the tile, you see the grout like this. Once it starts to dry, we can use a sponge and wipe it off, and then it'll smooth out a little bit and you'll be able to see the shininess of the tile. So this section right here is done. I'm going to take a little bit more here, tuck it into the edge, tuck it underneath here. And sometimes I just really lightly put pressure so it doesn't take the grout away, but it sets it into place for it to start drying. Okay. So this edge looks pretty good here now. And then I'll show you, I would say wait about 10 minutes, check back in with Miss Alyssa and she'll give you a sponge and you can start to wipe off the surface. Now I'd like to reuse these gloves. I'm not sure if it's possible, but if the grout on there is still wet, you can just rinse it off in the sink, like that, and then just take a paper towel and dry off your glove. Oh, I can do this one-handed, like that. And then when you take it off so that you can keep the wet part on the outside. Try not to drop the iPad. Like this, and we're just going to set it. I'll have the tablecloth out. You can set it there to dry and another student can use it. Now my grout has had a little time to set up and it's getting hardened a little bit. It's not as sticky. See, I don't have a glove on and it's barely coming off on my fingers. So show your mosaic to Miss Alyssa and then she's going to give you a damp sponge like this. This sponge has a little bit of water on it, right? But it's not wet enough that it's going to make your mosaic all wet again. Your job then is going to be to rub the sponge on top of your tiles and you get off some of that grout that you put on. Oh, why is it so sticky? I guess we have to do this sooner. Okay. And you're going to clean off that surface. You can even take like a little fingernail. Okay. And then at the same time, you're going to be smoothing out the top of the grout that's in between your tiles. Okay. Next time I'm not going to let this dry as hard, or as long I mean, so that the grout doesn't get so hard. Okay. Now the grout will continue to harden, but now your shiny tiles will show through and the inside will be white and your tiles will be the color that you made them. Okay, so this isn't all the way done because I'm going to leave the rest for the group, but I wiped off the top of the tiles with my sponge here, and then I did take my finger and just kind of smooth out any places where the grout got moved. And once this starts to dry, I'm just have a little Kleenex here, and I can kind of buff the tiles to get them to their original sheen. Next class, this will be rock hard. There is the option we could paint it if we wanted, or if we like how the white looks, we could just leave it. And then we could also think about some sort of frame around the outside of our mosaics. Okay, this is how you add grout. Have fun.